Show me how you do that grift. The outrage streams of lies you spread. The constant drama never ends. Say anything for a paycheck. You try so hard to seem legit. Always changing views.
I'm kind of retarded.
You blame the Jews. They're not your problem. You're stupid. You're the problem. Hey, I'm the blues. Cause that's a problem. Say anything to seem relevant. We laugh at you. We should struggle to get paid.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. You see a new background here tonight? New background. I'm on the road. This is Good Lawgic on vacation. Good Lawgic on location. It's some Asian. There's definitely some Asian that's happening. Some Cation that's happening here. It's location, vacation. It's both. Yes, it's both. I hope you all have been well. I hope you've been fighting your way through the grifters, the woke right, the insanity. If you ever amble into social media these days, it's a whole crazy world out there. And yeah, when I left, when I had to shut down for the last days of Passover, so we were basically, according to some people, on the cusp of World War III. Fortunately, that did not happen. in case you missed the update, that did not happen. Big surprise. Big surprise. Color me shocked that the world was still standing on Wednesday morning. Yeah, that was a shock, because on Tuesday at 8 p.m., when Trump was going to commit all those war crimes, and had to be 25th Amendment out. Yeah, we were hearing all about how he was just going to be raining down devastation, and that was going to lead to World War III. And oh my God, they need to invoke the 25th Amendment, get rid of him, or have him say that he's got some health issues. We saw some takes that I just thought were shocking. I'll just leave it at that. Shocking. And I even went online on Tuesday afternoon when I was in the middle of driving down to Virginia, which is where I am now, and just basically put out a lengthy post as to why it is that I think that this take that he's about to engage in war crimes was absurd. And it seemed like it was dependent on trusting that we have access to information that he has access to. Unfortunately, I'm glad that there were no strikes at all. I'm glad a ceasefire was reached. I certainly never. Some people were saying he's going to drop a nuclear bomb. They were taking his threats very, very literally. Which, if you've been watching Trump at all, no one serious would take it. No one who's approaching it from a perspective of actually having watched Trump for the last, I don't know, if not 40 years, then 10 years at least, his political career, that when he wants to make a point, he will get very, very emphatic about what he's going to do and certainly speak with great hyperbole. That's what he does in order to make a point as to just how aggressive he's going to be. Or we've seen him do it in even far more innocuous topics where he'll describe a buffet that they had after his inauguration that, hamburgers were a mile high. And the woke left, because they're trying to just catch him in any lie that they possibly could, would basically be chastised and say, reports show that it really was not actually a mile high. And it's like, ooh, wow, this is earth-shattering. They're like, he's a liar. He said it's a mile high, when really it was like 3 feet high. And it seems as if the woke right was basically pulling from their playbook, just sort of taking his words in such literal sense that when he said he's going to destroy their civilization, that means he's going to be just basically dropping nuclear bombs, as if that's exactly what he does. He just drops nuclear bombs. He does that all the time. It was kind of ridiculous. And I basically said, I think this is a ridiculous take. I think these are just some ridiculous perspectives. And I recognize that, hey, look, if in fact he were to drop nuclear bombs, that would be a war crime. It would be. You know, I certainly didn't want him to engage in anything that would be a war crime. But also, like all these, you know, they claim that, you know, he said he was going to strike every power plant in Iran, which I didn't think he was going to strike every single one in Iran. I thought that they would be targeted based on which ones are supporting the IRGC and their efforts. And if that's what he was doing, even if he's saying I'm gonna do it, it's not what he says that makes it a war crime. It's what he does that makes it a war crime. Now, in theory, to be fair, if in fact he says the reason I'm doing it is because I'm angry at you, that makes it sort of a butt up to the club, meaning when I say up to the classification of being a war crime. If he says it and he frames it, the reason I'm doing this is just to teach you a lesson and we're leaving right afterwards, well, in that case, it's not a military strategy. So his own words could ultimately be used to trip him up in that sense as far as whether or not he's committed a war crime. And as I said before I left on, I think it was on Monday, I was like, you know, it's probably better if he's like a little bit more silent about that sort of thing. But his objective clearly was to try and shake the IRGC into going along with terms that he thought were going to be amenable toward ultimately resolving this conflict as rapidly as possible. And frankly, hopefully we're seeing the start, as you're likely aware, and probably learned long before I did, because I didn't hear about it till tonight, because when I'm offline, I'm really offline. Like, I don't know anything that's going on in the world. I'm just sort of hanging out with my family and no access to electronics. So I only learned tonight that they reached a 2-week ceasefire and that there's negotiations going on, which are being headed by J.D. Vance and Jared Kushner, amongst others. And we're going to talk a little bit about the party who they're negotiating with on behalf of the IRGC, because that's an important element. At this point, when you see so many of their leadership has been eradicated, it's kind of, you know, confusing to figure out who is it that you talk to that actually can speak on behalf of Iran and has the authority and can actually deliver. Because it's one thing for some Iranian could just stand up there and say, hey, yeah, I'm promising peace, or I'm promising we're going to do this, but then they don't have actual weight of authority behind them. So we're going to talk about the individual who is reportedly involved and do a little bit of an assessment as to who he is and perhaps distinguish him from Khomeini. Because one of the big fears, and this is a fear that I shared before years ago, just with respect to dealing with regime change in Iran, and still hold to this day, is we don't have a great track record with respect to regime change in the Middle East, in particular with Iran. But it's not just in the Middle East. America, historically, when we've tried engaging in regime change because we think this new guy on the horizon is more tolerable, less dangerous, more of a party that can be worked with, invariably they end up being far worse than the party that we replaced. It's almost like without exception. It's like, how did you find someone worse than Hitler? I don't know. We just found him. It's just weird. That's what seems to happen. So that's why there's always a fear whenever America is engaging in regime change. And to be fair, given the criticisms I've made against Trump specifically, where he has, you know, if you ever ask me how do I identify the biggest weaknesses of Donald Trump, the two biggest weaknesses are his obsessive spending and his ability to identify people who are good for a particular role. Well, that latter part would make you pause with concern that maybe this new person that he's bringing in here is no better than Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court. So maybe the new head of the regime, who he's identifying as being someone who's better than Khomeini, actually ends up being someone who's somewhat worse. If you hear people in the background, don't let that throw you. That just means I'm on vacation. You should be happy for me. So, but so in that sense, we have to have concerns about who it is that seems to be coming into a position of power within Iran, and specifically with respect to whether this is someone who can deliver, will stay in power, is going to be someone who is, let's say, more moderate than a fundamentalist like Khomeini, and and can actually bring peace and stability and a healthy mindset to the Middle East, rather than the let's blow everyone up and go to heaven and get our 72 our 72 presents from Allah, which is obviously a horrifying perspective if you're looking to create long-term stability in the Middle East. So in that sense, it's important to sort of get a flavor for who it is that is heading that. So we're going to be talking about that. I'm also going to be spending some time talking about his attack on the woke right, because he sent out a blistering post, which is probably where I'm going to start off dealing with that, with respect to the blistering post where he was naming names of people who he basically went to town on. And frankly, it was as Trumpian as anything. Really, it was just the most Donald Trump thing to ever do. And both funny and wordy and very aggressive. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're probably going to enjoy listening to that. I've got a few good breakdowns of that. Finally, what else did I want to cover with you? Oh yeah, I want to talk with you about Melania and her comments where she came out and addressed some of the people who are correlating her to the Epstein scandal. And what we saw when I came back out of this, the thing that was dominating for me, the overarching theme that I saw, is that we're living in Trump's world. People might try to unseat him. People might try to say he's past his prime. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't have control of the party anymore, or other nonsense. And it's obvious every time they count this guy out, every single time they try counting him out, it becomes crystal clear that this entire planet is run by Donald Trump. That's it. It's Donald Trump's world. Now, welcome to Earth, aliens. If you come here, it's just Donald Trump. That's it. He decides who has power. He's able to basically turn NATO into his little puppet. I got stuff on NATO that just you're going to be laughing. If you haven't seen it yet, you're going to be laughing, which is how NATO is bending over and saying, "Yes, Daddy Trump, what should I do for you?" And like literally, when I say "Yes, Daddy Trump," I got a clip here. You're going to see literally "Yes, Daddy Trump," and because it's Trump's world. And even Melania coming out and addressing the whole Epstein thing, I think that is, I don't know if it was coordinated with Donald Trump. A lot of people who were watching it basically seem to think it took Trump by surprise that she did this, but it ultimately can hopefully, and then I try to be someone who's, my perspective on the world is glass half full. And not just glass half full, but it's outside and it looks like it's going to rain, which means the glass is just going to get that much fuller with more water. So that is my take on things, while at the same time trying to present realistically what we can expect or what concerns we should have, but hoping for a brighter future. Hold on 1 second, because I'm getting a face here, which I need to address really, really quickly. You can stay as long as you want. You can pull up a chair. My son-in-law sometimes sits in and watches me. So that's essentially what I plan on breaking down for all of you tonight. And I think that the Melania Trump incident, like what she came out and did today, I'm not sure whether or not she had spoken with the president about it before she came out, but as someone who tries to look at the world as glass half full, and not only that, but looks like rain and there's going to be even more water in the glass, I think we can possibly be hopeful that this might end up serving to try galvanizing the base as far as putting Trump's relationship to the Epstein thing somewhat behind. It's never going to be eradicated. It's never going to be gone completely. But some of that bad flavor, some of the terrible taste that all of us have in our mouths for the way that entire debacle was handled, could be assuaged somewhat, could be ameliorated. I'm using all sorts of SAT words to basically say not as stinky. Like bad, yes, but just not quite as cripplingly bad, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think that's pretty much where I plan on going. Also, we have a goal tonight. What is our goal tonight? If I hit my 15 super chats in the range of $10 or more, if that happens, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, I don't know, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. If we hit that goal, that wasn't what I wanted. If I hit that goal, in that case, I'm going to be doing an afternoon show tomorrow. So I'm just going to basically come on out here and I'll be hanging with you people tomorrow. A whole new show tomorrow, at least an hour. At least an hour is tomorrow afternoon. So if we hit that goal tonight, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I never take offense if we don't hit the goal. If anything, I say it was on me. Like I was a failure as a podcaster in that I didn't motivate you sufficiently. I accept that without feeling like embarrassed about it. I'm just like, okay, look, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. If we hit it, great. And we'll end up having a show tomorrow. And if not, we probably won't end up having a show tonight. But I will have a show, God willing, on Saturday night. That I'm definitely planning on doing. So whether or not we have a show tomorrow, whether or not we hit our goal tonight, I do plan on having a show on Saturday night. So that's the game plan. Without further ado, I do have a couple of chats I need to get to real quick. So let me take care of that. Blasterbot saying, how was lugging the computer, Joe? Okay, so I'll tell you this much. A nuisance. It is a nuisance, like moving a studio. It's a nuisance. And I actually have a slight strain in my ankle. Like, no, I wouldn't call it a sprain, but it's just like feels tender. So yeah, but it is what it is. It wasn't quite that bad. I'm actually situated right now. The studio is sitting right now on a foosball table. So you might hear me just doing this randomly. That's just me just playing for the red team. So, but thank God it wasn't that terrible. And Wrestletown gifting 1 Good Lawgic membership. God bless you. Welcome to the following. Who'd you bring on in here? Let's see who you brought on in. Let's see who you brought. Let me see if I can find it. If we can find it. Can we find it? Who'd you bring in? Like Mitch Hedberg. Oh, I like Mitch Hedberg. That's what it is. I like Mitch Hedberg. Welcome to the following. I like Mitch. All right. Close the blinds behind you before you cause fits. There you go. All right. You good? Are you okay now? Are you okay? I want to make sure everyone's okay. Trump planted a tiny seed of a bluff in the liberal media, and Democrats sold to the Iranians as genocide. I used to be cynical of a 3D chess thing, but now I'm telling you this, he understands how to get people to do what he wants. That's part of how this is a Trump world that we're all living in. He literally, I don't call it 5D chess. I think people love to just sort of make it seem as if he's just like some crazy genius and has this 5D chess. I think what he does, if you ask me, and I'm glad you brought this up, Cthulhu, what I think he does is he has seen where people have pressure points. He has seen and learned through the course of his life how to get people to be motivated to do what he wants to do. He has seen how to push buttons in a way to punish people who annoy him, and he knows how to push buttons. So people call this 5D chess. No, he understands that, hey, and I think this is something I was trying to walk people through with respect to some of the woke right who are all freaked out about this Iran conflict and how he's breached from his normal paradigm. Someone wrote that to me and saying, Joe, why are you ignoring that? He's completely broken from the Trump paradigm. I'm like, no. You just never understood the Trump paradigm. So I want to explain it to you. This is a clippable moment. So you can sort of save this and lock it away. Understand Trump, okay? So you can have a better capacity to appreciate. And frankly, this is something anyone who understands politics or understands anything about the people and Donald Trump should have seen, okay? Trump likes the idea that he can read and assess people and push them in directions, right? He likes that. And it's important to him, certainly with respect to his role as president of the United States, that there's a certain predictability to how people react and how to that he's able to sort of push them to move along in ways that he likes. If you understand that about Donald Trump, that makes him that he'll view you as someone he can work with, you can understand why it is that when he deals with any world leader, it doesn't matter if it's Putin, it's Xi, it's Kim Jong-un, it doesn't matter who it is, a Bibi Netanyahu or whatever her Scheinbaum from Mexico, it doesn't matter. He can deal with all of them. He can deal with Keir Starmer, he can deal with all of them because he understands these animals. When I say animals, I'm saying the nature of the beast that he's dealing with. And he's like, okay, this is a beast that I can see that this one's more motivated by looking good. This one's more motivated by money. This one's more motivated by respect. He can understand and try and find ways to offer a carrot that will appeal to them, right? So he understands how to deal with a Putin. And will deal with a Putin different than he'll deal with a Scheinbaum or different than he'll deal with a Starmer or different than a Xi, because he's basically trying to take the measure of the individual and work with them in a way that he feels, that he can sort of push them towards doing what he wants. And that's how he's able to negotiate. This is why he's been able to broker deal after deal after deal after deal, because he understands the players. When you understand that this is what he's all about, how can I understand and read these players and push them in the directions I want? You can begin to fathom why it is that a fundamentalist Muslim like Khomeini is completely outside the paradigm. Because someone who's a genuine fundamentalist, someone who's a fundamentalist Muslim, who feels as if, hey, my objective is to make the entire world Shia Muslim, and if they're not, then they're an infidel and they need to be obliterated. There's nothing you can offer them. They don't care about money. They don't care about power. They don't care about life. They simply care about forming a deeper connection with Allah by basically obtaining that objective that they interpret as what God wants them to do. There's nothing you can do. There's no carrot you can offer them. And this is why Iran is completely different from a Trump perspective than anyone else, because he's like, I can't work with them. There's nothing I can offer them. Because what are you offering to them that's better than heaven? There's nothing you can offer them. And he understands that. So this is something that like the woke right seems to be like, well, he's able to work peace with this and peace with that and able to even pick up Maduro. It's like they're not appreciating that he's being pragmatic about how to deal with a particular circumstance, a particular situation, a particular world leader in a way that's going to be effective, because you can't do that with a fundamentalist Muslim. Now, that doesn't mean all Muslims are fundamentalists. Quite the contrary. I think that most of them probably aren't. But when you're talking about Iran, you're talking about Hamas, you're talking about the Houthis, you're talking about basically Muslims who come from a perspective of they don't care about the money that much. It's not that big a deal to them. They don't care about the power. I think they like money. Don't get me wrong. You don't accidentally accumulate billions of dollars. That doesn't happen by accident. But they definitely, they put a premium and they instill in their followers that money is irrelevant. Life is irrelevant. Your offspring are irrelevant. Your offspring are better off if they die as a martyr than if they live in a world where basically people are not paying sufficient homage to Allah and Muhammad. So now Trump realizes there's nothing he can do to deal with something like that. And that's why for the last 40 years, he's been screaming, we need to get rid of Iran. Like that is the problem. All the other world leaders, even if they're jerks, even if they're self-absorbed narcissists or have all sorts of other flaws, you can always work with them if you understand what they're about and how to sort of leverage them, how to give them what they want. But so all these people on the woke right who are like, oh, he broke from the paradigm. No, you just never understood the paradigm. You never understood that he understands the players he's dealing with far better than you do. And he knows which ones he can push and how to push them. And he knows which ones and which few world leaders are completely unmovable. And if they're completely unmovable and their objectives are very hostile to America and her allies, you're just like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So that's why I think he's always had, ever since Khomeini took over, he's had this consistent thing of bomb the heck out of Iran. You just can't. There's nothing you can do. Just bomb the heck out of them. You never heard him say that about anyone else. You never heard him say that about China. He might bash China. He might bash Putin. He might bash Russia. You never heard him say bomb the heck out of them. But this is the one that he has said, and the woke right is like, well, he broke from the power. He didn't break from anything. That's exactly what he's been saying, and there's a reason he's been saying it in this arena, and that's because there's nothing else that he can do to remedy the situation and work with them. And he saw that, and it's obvious to anyone who actually bothers paying attention, rather than just saying, no, our position is going to be implacably, this is it, we're never going to bomb anyone. It's like, that's you're living in a pipe dream. And I don't want war, and I certainly am glad to avoid it. I don't ever want to see troops go into Iran. I don't support the idea of us trying to stabilize Iran, and you know, in the sense of, you know, boots on the ground. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see us bombing Iranians. But removing an implacable force like this, how does anyone say that this is not anything other than a blessing toward peace for decades throughout the world? So, and I pray that our troops are able to come home soon, as I'm sure we all do. And it seems like we're on our way. But the woke right, I mean, he went after them hard. Let me just catch up in some chats, and then I'm going to get into how he went after the woke right. Always take Trump seriously, never literally. That's perfect. Yes, always take him seriously, but not literally. Yes. Q Thulu, thank you for gifting. God bless you. Gifting membership. Who'd you bring on in here, Q Thulu? Who'd you bring on in? Alan Sparks. Hey, Alan. Oh, well done. Well done. Sent you a text, want company. Trying to decide. I've been sort of trying to just figure out how to do my show as quickly as possible. Yeah, I can do that. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link. Sure. You guys want Jim on here, right? Let me take care of that real fast. I'll send you a link, Jimbo. Where are you? Thursday night. It's not the same without Jimbo around. All these different private messages. I haven't even checked my private messages. There's so many private messages. I haven't been catching up fast. There you go, Jimbo. Sent that out to you. Excuse me. The fan and light was doing a strobe effect, which can cause fits in some with epilepsy. I wasn't being an a-hole, and multiple people were mentioning it. I appreciate it. No, I didn't see it. So it's not really true. It was doing a whole. I'm glad. Thank you for calling to my attention. I appreciate it. I didn't think you were being an a-hole. Kimberly Campbell, coming on in here. 1995, Bill Clinton invaded Bosnia because they committed genocide. They red-rummed 8,000. They red-rummed. That's what she's saying. Red-rummed. They red-rummed 8,000 people. Iran red-rummed 40,000 people in 2 days. When is anyone going to admit that it too was a genocide? I think the term genocide has been I think it's been turned into a joke. And I'm not saying that it's not mass murder. It's not. Genocide has a certain connotation. So genocide means the reason I'm killing these people is because they are of race X. That's the motivation. That's the purpose of genocide. And it was purposefully destroyed. The term was purposefully destroyed when Israel was striking Gaza as a way of trying to sort of, like in your face Jews that you're the ones committing genocide against Arabs. As if like the reason that they were attacking Gaza was because they were Arabs rather than the fact that these were folks who were trying to kill Israelis. So they tried turning it into genocide. It's not numbers that make something a genocide. It's what your objective is combined with numbers. So I think that with respect to Bosnia, there you were talking about what was happening with in Bosnia. I think that there was an objective. There was a racial objective here. What Iran was doing was horribly evil. It just wasn't genocide. You see what I'm saying? In that they weren't trying to wipe out a particular race. They were trying to wipe out a particular ideology, which was anti-IRGC ideology. So I don't think that it's appropriate. Hey, Jim, good to see you. I don't think it's appropriate to properly, and I appreciate your thought as far as just on a scale, like on a numbers basis, this feels more genocidal, but it's really just more psychotic. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's not an objective of trying to wipe out a particular race. It's an objective of trying to just mass scale the same way when Stalin was killing his own people.
When they're starving during the pogroms.
I mean, I'm not talking about. So when you're engaging in pogroms and you're saying, "Oh, let's go get the Jews," or you're saying, "Let's go get the Turks," or you're saying, "Let's go get this race and kill them because we hate these people from a race," that's what makes it a genocide. When you're doing mass killings on a basis of race, that's what makes it a genocide. And I think that's possible in Bosnia. I don't remember if it was Bosnia or Herzegovina. That there was. I think there was a racial element there.
Well, it was Muslims because it was Islam's and it was an Islamic thing where they wanted to separate Serbia and take out the other. I can't remember but there was something else going on there too. There was something else at the time going on in Serbia and Bosnia, something to do with that was geopolitical stuff that was more. I think had more to do with it than what they were doing, because the amount of people that died wasn't really a lot of people when all things considered. I mean, there was millions of people being killed in Africa, and we weren't doing shit about it.
The other thing is also there's another term which is more appropriate, which would be racial cleansing.
That's what they called it. I think they were calling it ethnic cleansing in Bosnia,
ethnic cleansing. That is not actually genocide, because genocide is an objective to wipe the entire race off the planet, as opposed to saying we don't want anyone from this race here. Like the reason why the Holocaust is called a genocide is because it's not just that he wanted to kill the Jews of Germany. He's trying to conquer territories to kill Jews everywhere. So that's what makes it a genocidal objective. So even if someone was engaging, let's say, God forbid, in racial and ethnic cleansing of Jews, in which they did throughout the Middle East, right? I mean, you don't have Jews in Iran anymore. It used to be hundreds of thousands in Iran. You don't have that anymore. Or throughout the Middle East, and or with if it's not trying to eliminate the race altogether. So when they removed and or killed Iranian Jews, that's not genocide. That's ethnic cleansing. It's still evil. It's just not the right term. That's the point that I'm getting at. It's really it's a different term, and I think they purposefully stole that term, bastardized the term, made the term stupid on purpose with respect to what was happening in Gaza, as a way of trying to make a dig at Israel and specifically Jews, because people associate the term genocide with the Holocaust.
I don't understand how Gaza could have been a genocide when they increased the amount of people there. It kept going up, so it can't be genocide.
It's so stupid. It was like I said, it was a complete bastardization of the term, and I think purposefully trying to basically try and strip the Holocaust away as being not that big a deal. On a subconscious level, it's like, oh, okay, so there was a genocide in Europe under Hitler, and now there's another genocide here. It's a way of cheapening. I think it's purposefully designed to cheapen what happened in World War II. And that's my personal take on it. It's like, this is how we can cheapen it and actually make it like, you see, the Jews are just as bad as the Nazis. So it's a very evil thing, the way they use that term. And I felt like if I rail about this on the regular, I brought it up once or twice, but if I rail about this on the regular, people just will feel like I'm whining because it's Jews and, you know, Joe's Jewish. So I'm like, that's why I don't like bringing it up on a frequent basis. But when I get someone who puts out an intelligent comment like this, I feel like it gives me an opportunity to sort of just get that off my chest.
But I mean, it's not, I don't think you could call it a genocide, even though with like what Iran did to their own people, because they weren't trying to kill all their own people. Like a genocide is when you're trying to wipe out all the people, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Might not succeed, but that was their attempt to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It was a genocidal objective. So this is an interesting question that Kimberly's asking. When Iranians are crying out for our help, should we just turn our backs on them, or should we help if we can? So this is a very, very interesting question, in the sense that here's the problem. Here's the problem. First and foremost, America First objective is going to say, not our problem, it's not our circus, not our clowns, not our problem. That's an America First, a strictly America First objective. It's like, look, we have all these problems at home, and we're tired of America playing the role of the world police. You know, so like it's not our circus, not our monkeys. So you know, it sucks that that's happening. We certainly, you know, would do everything, you know, to politically, diplomatically to try and discourage it, but to actually, you know, wield our military force to try and stop it from happening is something that America First would be like, why are you doing that instead of addressing the so many problems that we have here at home? And you can understand, and given the other thing is that you have to recognize, Kimberly, is that America got very tired of feeling like our own government is lying to us in order to motivate us to have a bloodthirst for war, and to mobilize our military, because it was financially beneficial to the military industrial complex, that these massive, powerful companies that produce our weapons, our tanks, our planes, our missiles, our sophisticated defense systems, all of these things, that they make a lot more money if we go out there and act actively as a world police. So there's a feeling as if Americans have been motivated, and frankly, this is because the whole, I think a large part of this was exposed with the WMD's claim with respect to Iraq, that there was an objective to try and create a bloodthirst in Americans, say, yeah, let's go out there and topple Saddam Hussein and destroy the Middle East, because of what happened on 9/11, and that's what this was ultimately all about. And I think that people basically got very burnt out on that. So then when you come and you say like, hey, Iranians are crying for our help, they'd be like, okay, you know, some are, some aren't. You know, so why should we just assume that this is, and why should I not, how can I know whether the people crying for our help represent 3% of Iranians or 97%? There's no way for me as an American sitting here to really know that, other than trusting my government. And there's a lot of distrust in our government because these large companies give so much money to the Lindsey Grahams of the world and the Chuck Schumers of the world. They give it to the left and the right to try and motivate them to sell us on war. So it's very hard. So Americans have become very skeptical, very cynical about whether there's really this noble objective, or whether we're just being sold complete bill of goods to motivate us to go to war. So that's why I think that there's massive cynicism amongst the America First crowd in particular. And it's not because it's well-earned cynicism. It's not like we just like, you know, we just don't care. It's just that we just don't trust our government. We assume they're lying to us. So now there's different degrees of that. And that's why, like, you know, the woke right are like, any war is a lie. That's basically, you listen to Dave Smith, every single, war is a lie. Everyone. Every one of them is bad. You take the craziest of them, and Tucker Carlson taking on historians saying we didn't have to go into World War II. Like, that was a lie also. Now, I think that's retarded. I think that's literally Cocoa Puffs type of perspective. But I can't deny the fact that I think Vietnam was ridiculous. Korean War was ridiculous. The Gulf War was, there's a lot of this which you're just like, yeah, we've been lied to a lot. So now when we hear about another Middle East nightmare that's going on, even if it's true, people are like, well, we have bigger problems at home. And there's skepticism that people don't believe it's true because we've been lied to so many times before in order to support the military-industrial complex, which is funding our politicians to lie to us about this. So this is why the woke right, and not even the woke right. This is why even a lot of people who have become cynical are basically like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it's true. And if it is, I'm much more bothered about the fentanyl crisis in America. I'm much more bothered about the fact that our youth can't afford to buy a house because we've been devaluing our dollar by spending trillions of dollars every year, blowing up different parts of the world. And maybe if we blow up these other parts of the world, we're just building more resentment and having more reason for more war 15 years from now. You kill someone today, so even if there's a monster, his kid grows up and 20 years from now, he and his friends who are orphaned off by this war are going to come after you. You're going to have to fight another war then. It just becomes a cycle. So that's why people become very, very cynical. And that cynicism, like I said, is justified. But that doesn't mean that there's never a situation which calls for it. And I think Trump has done a very good job of drawing a line, saying, look, I'm not looking to get engaged in military conflicts, but this is one that I can't turn away from. So these are well thought out comments you're bringing, Kimberly. So,
I mean, we did try to help. We did try to help them. We tried to give weapons to the Kurds to have them transferred to the Kurds in Iran to get them to the people, and the Kurds kept them. So,
yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing is, with respect to Iran itself, you can go back to 1953, where, every time we try fixing the situation, it just seems to get worse. I voted for Trump 3 times. I voted for him to lead us. Lord forbid, if we ever need help from another country like the UK, we'll need our help. One, they're going to turn our backs on us. Oh, yeah, NATO is basically, they're in trouble. NATO's really in trouble. And I got a lot on NATO here. We're blowing up our dollar by opening our borders and allowing anyone to enter. It's called supply and demand. This is true, too. It's destroying the dollar too. That 100%. I agree with you. But it's not any one thing. So everyone has their perspective, like their thing that they think is good, and everything else is or their hot button topic, and they're like, this is the thing that's causing the problem. And to be fair, it's really 12 different things which all play in together to help devalue the dollar. You're right. And you can focus on one or focus on another one, and depending on who you're talking to and what their agenda is, they're going to focus on a particular thing or shift focus away from something else. That's just reality. So I do have things I even started going through my clips. I need to share this with you. This is great. I want to talk about how Trump went after the woke right. You saw that post from him?
I didn't see that. No. I mean, there was some good stuff I saw. There was an interview with Barbara Walters and Trump back from in the 80s, where Trump is telling her, go get the oil.
We need to blow up Iran?
Yeah, but just take the oil. And next time they do something, just go in and take their oil. Just go take it. What do you mean take it? Just take it. What are they going to do? I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, okay. So I want to share this with you. This is really good. I have to try and time this because I don't want to play the music the entire time. So I need to try and time this, and I haven't practiced the timing on this. But let's see if I can do this. I'm going to do this well. We're going to have Sean Farash mixed together. Sean Farash doing Trump mixed together with this video, which is just really funny. Let's see if we can do this well. I'm going to try and time this out. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna stop the music here because if I have the music up there, it's not gonna go well. So instead, let's do this.
I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They're so stupid people. They know it, their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. They've all been thrown off of television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. Now they think they get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them. And their views are the opposite of MAGA, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump, not hand-flailing fools like Tucker Carlson, who couldn't even finish college. He was a broken man when he got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should see a good psychiatrist. Or Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the now famous only Rosie O'Donnell question. Or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she is not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. In fact, it's not even close. Or bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for his horrendous attack on the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims, ridiculously claiming it was a hoax. These so-called pundits are losers, and they always will be. Now, fake news CNN, the failing New York Times, and all of the other radical left news organizations are hailing them and giving them positive press for the first time in their lives. They're not MAGA. They're losers, just trying to latch on to MAGA. As president, I could get them on my side anytime I want to.
It's true, you could. You totally could.
Their calls because I'm too busy on world and country affairs. And after a few times, they go nasty, just like Marjorie Trader Brown. But I no longer care about that stuff. I only care about doing right for our country. MAGA is about winning and strength in not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. MAGA is about making America great again. And these people have no idea how to do that. But I do, because the United States is now the hottest country anywhere in the world. President Donald J. Trump, thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Sean Farash, for sharing that out.
That's great. No moon. That's a space station.
Yeah, that's no moon. That's a space station. How have you been, my brother?
I've been good.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
A lot of news the last couple of days.
I was actually asking why Tim Pool gets lumped together with these other people, because I was like, I see people attacking him as, lumping him together with,
because he's riding the fence. Like if you paid some attention to some of the stuff he said lately, he's kind of like on the fence. He's saying, don't do this, and then so. I don't know. I mean, so did you
see this clip of him? He dropped this.
Donald Trump personally called me before he made this statement.
This statement we just read. Trump called him before making this statement,
thanking me for having his back and saying that I was a good friend. And I said, Mr. President, I will stand with you always, no matter what you do, even if you shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. He laughed.
Yeah.
And we had a great time, and he's a good man.
There you go. That's what I said. I was like, I don't know why it is that people are lumping Tim Pool in with them. I'm like, I have to I have to choose my associations carefully, and Tim Pool is one I'm still trying to cultivate. And I'm like, let me make sure I'm choosing my associations carefully, because I don't follow what people say all the time. And I was just like, I really want to know, if I'm going to work to get on Tim Pool more frequently, it's like whether I'm I'm walking into Tucker Carlson camp or not.
Well, here's the thing: as long as you have opinions and you can say that these are your opinions and it's not personal, it's like just this is my opinions. You could disagree. I think Tim's a person where you could disagree with them and still get along with them.
Yeah,
it's not the same when the stuff that Barnes has been saying lately, the stuff that some other people have been saying. there's no getting along with them. You know, there's no getting along with Candace Owens. I don't give a shit what she says or does. She will always be fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. People warn me because I actually called I called Robert Barnes out about his statement that no legal mind would disagree that this is a war crime, and I was like, that's garbage. I disagree with that, and people were telling me he's going to cut me off, like he's going to block me for this. Like that's what some people were telling me, like, hey, he's definitely going to block you because he doesn't take. Hold on one second. I just need to address something real quick.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so now I'm in control of the show. Everyone, bow to your new leader. I am Jim. Hear me roar.
Yeah. So,
So Barnes was going to cut you off.
Yeah, and when I quote tweeted Barnes, I made clear, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to bring him down or dog him or stuff like that, but I think that I was like, I like and respect him, but on this topic, I strongly disagree, and here's why. I was like, I think that the breadth of his statement is so broad that he's basically saying, and he qualified it by saying if he follows through on it. But I'm like, who the heck really thinks he's going to follow through on, ending that civilization altogether? Yeah, of course, if he nukes 94 million Iranians, yeah, that's a war crime. No one's arguing with that. I mean, but it's like, who really took him seriously? Like, how can you in good faith say, I think that's what he really meant, and that's what he's actually going to do? Like, that's a ridiculous thing. So, like, that's why I was like, when you're trying to say that he's talking about committing war crimes and we need to 25th Amendment him, and that's what basically, you get a little laundry list here of what folks were saying. Alex Jones, his team needs to grab him 25th his ass and commit him. Candace Owens, he sacrificed Charlie Kirk. Trump is a madman, and other countries need to move to have him removed. Megyn Kelly, just shut the F up. He's disgusting. He can't behave like a normal person. Tucker Carlson, vile on every level. Who do you think you are? Then went on to insinuate he's the Antichrist. His post was more than warranted for you sick, grifting charlatans. He gave you your fame and money. You sold him out. Agreed. Good riddance. We're sick of it. So, yeah.
The whole Robert Barnes thing, what I was thinking is it's possible.
Robert Barnes, by the way, did not block me. I actually checked.
The thing I was thinking about Barnes possibly could be doing is he's been doing a lot of gambling and betting and prediction markets and stuff. And he has a whole thing where you pay Barnes to get his predictions for doing things. I think it's $500 a month or something insane like that. This could all be part of that. Like, could be betting on stuff. I don't know.
Look, and everyone here understands that I consider Robert Barnes a friend. I've never met him in real life, but I consider him an online friend. I've spoken to him on the phone. I've worked with him, and he's someone I consider a friend. So I'm not going to sit here speculating what's motivating him to say what he's saying. I don't think it's my job to do that. People became critical of Megyn Kelly when she said, I'm not going to go after my friends. Tucker Carlson's my friend. Candace Owens is my friends. And if you don't like the fact that I'm going to stand by my friends, F you. And I think she was very, very grossly mistaken. You can keep a friendship with someone while still saying what they're saying here is wrong. I disagree with it. And I think that was incumbent upon her to do that. And instead, she basically just jumped in bed with them politically and aligned herself with them in ways that just belied logic. And that's why when I was dealing with Robert Barnes, I'm like, look, I like him. I consider him a friend on this topic. I think he's dead wrong. I think it's a bad call. So, and I think that's the way to be fairest to your audience, where you're just like, and it's also being a normal person. It's like, okay, I disagree with people all the time on the people who I like and respect. I'm like, you know what? I think on this particular issue, you're just wrong. And I look, maybe you're right and I'm wrong. I'm just telling you, this is why I think you're wrong. This is what doesn't make sense to me, what you're saying. It doesn't seem realistic to me. And ultimately, I hope people recognize and appreciate that. It doesn't mean I'm going to have to say, I'm never talking to you again, or I'm going to bash you. I'm not bashing you as a person. I'm disagreeing with your position on this particular issue. And I'm not going to change my position on this issue just because someone I like is saying something that, is saying something. If I disagree with them, I'm always going to feel free to disagree with them. And if they're cool with that and maintaining a relationship with me, great. And if my disagreement with them is going to cause them to terminate a relationship with me, then that's a shame. But I'm not going to hold my my relationship with them is not going to hold sway over what my opinion is. Like, go ahead and talk me out of my position. You know, that's on you to convince me that I'm wrong. But here's Scott Jennings breaking down his attack on the woke right. I got a few things on this.
I mean, we're treating Alex Jones like a credible voice here. We're treating Tucker Carlson like a credible voice.
I don't consider
we're
Alex
playing
Jones a credible voice, but there are people you travel the country and talk to Trump voters who do.
Okay, so let's just say you're right, and some people listen to them. Who do you think they listen to more? Those people or President Donald Trump? I know what the polling says, and I know what my instincts tell me is that Donald Trump runs the party, he runs the country, not the podcasters. They're welcome to have opinions, and I don't begrudge anybody having an opinion, and you could have a different opinion than Donald Trump. But I know who has more influence over the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and there's no doubt about it. And there has never been any doubt about it, really, all that much for the last 10 years. So their opinions are fine, but the person in charge right now was in charge, is in charge, and will be in charge until he leaves office.
Mike Cernovich, another MAGA influencer, one of the most popular on X, tweeted today, Trump ran on idealism. Good people trusted him. They feel deeply betrayed. I hear it every day. Just another lonely voice to you, or?
Well, look, okay, I can also play I hear people saying every day that this is exactly what they voted for. They voted for a commander-in-chief to restore American strength on the world stage. They voted.
And this, by the way, this plays into sort of a little bit what Kimberly Campbell was talking about, because she raised this issue. And I think it's a fair question that she was saying, you know, as far as helping people. And that is, and what I was trying to convey is kind of like what Scott Jennings is saying, is that, you know what, there are people perhaps in Iran who are desperate to remove the Iranian regime and the IRGC, but you can't ignore the fact that there's at least 1 million people in Iran, if not 10 million people, who are very happy with the IRGC. So, you know, it's so to just say that this is a universally held thing, it's like saying that there's a universally held position about what MAGA is or what Trump should be doing or whether Trump is good or bad, when you can break this down into like pockets of large numbers of people in the tens of millions who think that he's right, think that he's wrong, think that he's always wrong, like the left does, think that, you know, he betrayed, and people who think this is exactly what they wanted him to do. And no one who's saying there are millions of people who agree with me is wrong, because there is such a deep divide. And I think that that's because people are not a monolith. And ultimately, when people are trying to just sort of weigh in and saying this is what the public is screaming, and they're pretending that this is what everyone agrees with, that's the grift. That's when people are grifting you. Now, I want to be 100% clear. I'm not saying that Kimberly is grifting. She's not grifting. She's expressing her opinion as to where people are coming from. But what I'm saying is, when you hear people on social media saying that my position is something everyone agrees with, that is a grift. That is someone, because that's clearly not true. Whether it's someone who agrees with me or disagrees with me, it's clearly 100% not true. When they're saying this is what, you know, the vast majority of people, you don't know what the hell the vast majority of people really think. And you're just telling people that because, you know, you want to try and pretend that your movement is something greater than what it actually is. So, let me play the rest of this clip here.
For a commander-in-chief to keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. They voted for a commander-in-chief who would do what the 7 previous presidents would not do, and that's deal with these people with a firm hand. So I hear things too. And again, everybody's welcome to an opinion. I don't begrudge anybody their opinion, but you can't deny that Donald Trump has always been a hawk on Iran. He's always said he would never permit them to get a nuclear weapon, and he's taking those actions to prevent that right now. That is the direction he is doing, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, because he's always been very clear that he believes they're fanatics, and he believes they cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he believes that dealing with them and you know, cajoling them, they don't understand that language. They only understand the language of strength.
I want to come back.
And the large number of people, I will share this. The large number of people claiming betrayal, even amongst them, which there are a large number of people who are claiming betrayal. I hear it too. I see social media. I see people who were celebrating his inauguration turning against him now and gaining more follows for turning on him, becoming more popular the way Candace Owens become more popular, the way Tucker has become more, the way Megyn Kelly, that gaining more popularity, which only helps further the notion that this is a popular perspective. And what I would say to you is, if Trump ends up being successful here in this venture, the very people who are supporting Tucker and supporting Meghan and saying, oh, he turned on us and he betrayed us, will look at this as a success and they'll come back into the fold. And we get our troops home in a couple of weeks. And there's a new regime that's actually seems, like it's a healthy partner in the world stage. And this gets pinned up as another success of Trump's international foreign policy. A lot of the people who are claiming today they're betrayed will forget about that betrayal and be very happy with him. So I think people are very peckish, and they're sort of insistent that he has success immediately and almost in an unrealistic perspective. And those people will come back into the fold and they'll be like, oh, you know what? Well, I guess he did okay here. Thank God. We thought there was going to be World War III, and they'll come back and support him. And a lot, I think, of these people who are trying to grift on hating Trump, I think are going to start seeing a dip in their numbers at that point. So for all those reasons, and politically especially, it's important to get out of there. What are we eating? What are we eating?
Candy.
Are you eating in class? Are you eating in class?
Oh, it's a throat lozenge.
Oh, okay. I know you're doing a lot of talking, so I gotta make sure you keep it small.
Yeah, I know.
Actually,
I talk too much.
Just blah 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 blah. Wondering, is Trump correcting the mistakes of the 70s? Iran, the moon, changing the economic system. These are decisions that impact these things. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought of that. That's an very interesting thought. Tim made that comment as a joke, saying people would clip it out of context, just FYI. Oh, really? That's funny. Maybe one getting mad at Trump too. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I've been away for 2 days, so that clip came across my feed, so I got suckered. All right, that's pretty funny. Thank you. I appreciate you calling that to my attention. Trump said he didn't answer their calls, therefore these people can't influence him. That's why they're going crazy. Yeah, that's what he claims, and I think it's probably true. I think that they are frustrated that they felt he's someone that they could influence more significantly than they've been successful in doing. Hey Joe, Good Lawgic, enjoy your comment and always learn something new on your channel. Subscribe to Jim Tells You. Thank you so much, Moonchild. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm glad to have you aboard. Welcome to the show. Joe, the IRGC are bringing in people from Iraq and Afghanistan to celebrate. Tusi and Goldie are Iranians, and they report on this every day. Tusi's dad still lives there. You're probably, like I said, you don't need to convince me. You know what I'm saying? I think that I would imagine there's a lot of Iranians, tens of millions, who want the IRGC gone. I do not think that you're in the minority. Okay? I assume that this is an Iranian flag here, right? And that
the original Iranian flag,
right?
To the revolution.
So I assume that you have some sort of blood connection to Iranians, even though the name Kimberly Campbell doesn't really sound like that. But I assume that you have some sort of strong genealogical connection to Persians, and I respect where you're coming from here. And I don't know, I think that it makes sense what you're saying, and I think it. To me, logically, I would assume there's a lot of people like that. I just can't rule out the notion that, hey, the IRGC, they didn't just come into being with there only being like 15 people or 1,000 people who supported Khomeini. You know what I'm saying? There had to be like at least 100,000, if not a lot more. So I think that a lot of people probably feel like they're relieved to be rid of him. And I think there's probably a lot of people who are still supporting the Islamic Republic and keeping Iran as an Islamic Republic specifically. And I
mean, you don't need that larger percentage to control a country. You only need like 15, 20%. If you have all the guns and you have the power.
Right. That's true. But even if, okay, let's put it this way. If it's 10%, it's 9 million people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people.
Saying?
If they're the only ones that have guns.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. So, and that's what I'm saying is it's so hard to know. And that's why I am really confident in saying there's at least 10 million people in Iran who really mourn Khomeini, and at least 10 million people who are dancing in the streets celebrating his demise. And where the other 70 million lie, I don't know. And I'm sure that if the IRGC is looking to bring in people who are more supportive of having an Islamic Republic, and that's why it's like when you try doing it based on what democratically is the most popular thing, I don't know that we in America, I don't know how anyone would ever get a good flavor of that, especially because there's a blackout on information coming out of Iran. So the fact that there's a blackout does support what Kimberly's saying, because if you were really that confident that what you're saying is so popular, you wouldn't be afraid of people voicing opinions that are against the hadith.
I'm questioning why we haven't seen more video from our side. Like, if you remember,
there's a blackout supposedly. There's a blackout supposedly of all this stuff. So,
well, no, but I mean, but in Desert Storm and in Iraqi Freedom and all that stuff, we had tons of video from our, every plane, every bomb, every missile. They have cameras on them. So our video, like, why are we not seeing? Like when they kept saying, remember during it, like tomorrow's going to be the biggest day. It's going to be all this stuff, and then tomorrow it's going to be the biggest day of bombing. I haven't seen nothing. As far as I don't know what they've hit anything. In all reality, because we haven't seen it.
The government claims they wiped out the entire Iranian Navy and 13,000 strikes. That we know that they supposedly killed, the top, I don't know, by now 300 leaders from the IRGC. I mean, we talk about 88 in one strike and whatever. And I got more on strikes that Israel's claiming that they leveled. I'm going to get to that. First, I want to finish up with respect to Trump's attack on the woke right. I thought this was, I'm not going to be able to play the entire clip here because it's I'm going to get struck by the Village People. And trust me, you never want to get hit by the Village People. There's nothing good that comes when the Village People come after you.
Marjorie Taylor Greene or a bunch of people on the right bloviating, talking out of both sides of their mouth, knowing that they're pushing for something that'll never happen. Meaning invoking the 25th Amendment. That ain't gonna happen. As long as he's alive and breathing, Donald Trump's gonna be the president.
That was funny. Yeah, we're not going to tell the rest of that. I don't know if I'll survive. Here's another clip for you. These are the clips that you just got to mute when you're like, it sounds like you're frying eggs there.
Me?
Yeah.
All right, instant thoughts. Donald Trump calls out Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and Alex Jones. He missed a couple in there, but we can work with this.
These
people are people that were catapulted to fame by riding the coattails of Donald Trump. And even when they were against Trump, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and a couple others, when it became inevitable that Donald Trump was going to become president, they rode the coattails because that's where the clicks were, which meant that's where the views were, which meant that's where the money was. Now, where are the clicks, where are the views, where are the money? To be anti-Trump, to be anti-MAGA, that Trump has lost his way. Megyn Kelly just told him to shut the F up and be more presidential. Alex Jones just wanted to figure out how to 25th Amendment his ASS. Tucker Carlson, how dare you mock Islam? And then Candace Owens, of course, just yesterday said that President Trump sacrificed Charlie Kirk. No. No more. We see you lying grifters for exactly who you are.
Yep.
This is exactly what needs to be happen. You should be casted out for the world to see. If they choose to still watch you be wrong about literally everything all the time, fantastic. But MAGA, no, you're done. America first, no, you're done. You never were, you never will be. You're doomer, clickbait artist, and we're sick of it.
I don't think they're real America first. I think that they're not America first. I think they're trying to grift off of America first. I think that they're pretending that they're America first. I don't think that they are actually America first. That's where I would disagree with this gentleman over here. They dress themselves up in the guise of it being America first, but that's pretty much like Antifa dressing up like they're J6ers. That's how I view myself as being far more America first than Tucker Carlson. Candace Owens or Megyn Kelly. So, this is Jesus Enroque Rosas, the body language guy, weighing in on this. Trump just posted a 485-word savage truth social rant calling Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones stupid, low IQ nut jobs with third-rate podcasts, and the wildest part is that he's underselling it. Tucker Carlson privately texted that he hated Trump passionately during the first term, then stood at the 2024 RNC and said God personally intervened to save Trump's life, then went to Moscow to compliment Putin's subway tiles while artillery was hitting Ukrainian neighborhoods, and is now doing a 43-minute podcast suggesting Trump might be the Antichrist. What the F? Tucker is literally a guy spinning a roulette wheel every morning to decide who he is today, what he stands for, and what are his principles. These are my principles. If you don't like them, well, I have others. Groucho Marx would be proud. Megyn Kelly spent 14 years at Fox News cheerleading the Iraq and Afghan wars, admitted on her own show that she peddled government lies to millions of people, and is now positioning herself as the voice of anti-war moral clarity. She also said Monday that Trump could drop a nuclear weapon. Whoops, what happened there? Sorry about that. She also said Monday that Trump could drop a nuclear weapon, she'd still vote Republican. So she's calling the war genocide while pre-committing to vote for the genocider. In my honest opinion, the cognitive dissonance entry in Wikipedia should have a photo of Megyn. Candace Owens got married at Trump Winery, built her brand through Trump's movement, promoted blood libel conspiracy theories, got fired from the Daily Wire for anti-Semitism, is now calling the man who made her career a satanic mad king. Her opposition to the Iran war is just her existing anti-Semitic framework wearing a foreign policy hat. Alex Jones, who owes $1.4 billion for calling dead children's crisis actors, is now the moral authority on civilian casualties. He and AOC are using the same talking points. AOFing-C. The simulation is broken. These four had the easiest job media during the MAGA honeymoon. The moment things got hard, the moment the president had to make hard and ugly decisions, they folded. They were never on our side, which I think is kind of a harsh takedown, but it's hard to argue with many of the points that he made in there.
Your ignorance can understand.
This is something that I wanted to ask you about, and I'm not saying this is definitively correct. This clip I'm about to share in, but Melissa Tate, who's got quite a following, she's got 567,000 followers on X. She says that this is an Iranian man saying Tucker Carlson and other right-wing influencers are being paid by Qatar to spread Islamic propaganda in the West. He shares a video of Qatari officials admitting they are paying Western journalists to do their bidding. So you tell me, we're going to watch this clip, and I'm going to get feedback from you, Jim, and from the audience as to whether or not you think that these people are being paid.
Here's the proof that you, Tucker Carlson, and many other news outlets in the United States have been bought and paid for by Qatari government to spread their own Islamic propaganda.
الصحفيين كانوا على البيرول مالنا شلون كنا ندفع لهم بعضهم صاروا نواب الآن وبعضهم صاروا وطنيين أعرفهم أنا في دول كثيرة كانوا ندفع لهم يعني نشرفهم كل سنة وفي ناس لهم مرتبات كان في ذاك كل الدول العربية كانت تعمله شو انت فكرك مش الكل ولكن الأغلبية.
When claiming the uprising in Iran is driven by Israel or United States, understand this clearly. You're not only wrong, you're putting Iranian lives in danger. Iranians are not rising because of foreign influence. They're rising because they're living under oppression, tortures and kills its own people, including children. Iranians do not need anyone from outside to tell them to resist. The danger is not the insult to Iranian agency. We can endure that. The danger is the consequence of the narrative you're repeating. When the Iranian regime executes protesters, it does not admit they were demanding freedom. It calls them foreign agents, Zionist spies, CIA, Mossad-backed. These accusations are the justification used in courts, prisons, and execution orders. When you repeat the claims that this movement is foreign-driven, you're echoing the regime's own propaganda. You're giving it an international cover. You're signaling that the world would accept the claim that these young people were spies and not citizens fighting for dignity and their human rights. Remember, teenagers, students, Young women and men, their lives are at stake. This is not just a misinformation. It is the normalization of their killing. Iranians are not proxy. They're a nation demanding basic human rights. Stop repeating regime's propaganda. You beat your chest for America first. Here is your American in Iran chanting death to America, and it's not a propaganda.
Glory to all the martyrs. Glory to the actions of resistance. May we see victory within our lifetimes. Margbar America, Margbar Israel.
You claim to be activists. I have to ask you, have you ever attended one of the many protests that Iranians have had in the United States? Have you ever talked to them? Do you know what their message is? Have you even asked what they're looking for? But you have made sure to attend ArabCon in Dearborn, Michigan, because that's what your Qatari propaganda boss wants you to do.
Everybody, it's Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks. I'm going to ArabCon.
I don't care about what your beliefs are. I just want you to stop spreading propaganda about Iranian people. And by the way, next time talking to a woman, stop yelling and making faces at them. This is United States of America. It's not governed by Sharia law that you can do whatever you want to women. Women have rights.
So,
it's a fact that Tucker is being paid by Qatar. I mean, it's been proven. The money, they've seen the money. The money went, that's who funded his entire new channel was Qatar. The Tucker Carlson network was funded by Qatar. I mean, this has been known. It was known at the time.
How much money? Do we know how much money?
Like 25 million or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
I mean, that was like a first thing to get it off the ground. So who knows what else they're doing? I mean, the Qataris have been spreading money around like a lot, and you got to wonder because there's a lot of Qatar is also where the the PLO, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are, the Hamas, the people from Gaza are living right in Qatar, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's true.
Or is it Oman? I don't know. Is it Oman or Qatar? I can't remember. I don't know.
Here's Dan Bongino, who I know that he's lost a lot of his street cred given what happened when he was with the FBI, but and his whole stance on Epstein. But here's him going off on the grifters.
It's really crazy when a Reuters reporter on Twitter is giving you a more realistic assessment than the people secreting themselves inside of our own so-called MAGA tent who are telling you Trump's gone crazy, the 25th Amendment. What are you talking about, liberals? No, I'm talking about people pretending to be one of us who grifted off the Trump administration the entire time. That's what Scavino's talking about. A bunch of influencer bullshitters who tried to make a fortune off Trump's name. And the second a level 10 decision that made, they shit the bed, started freaking out, doing this bullshit routine. Trump has lost it. He's gone crazy. Here's a Reuters reporter at Phil D. Stewart. Iranian authorities see the truth with the U.S. and Israel as a strategic victory. But they emerge battered and isolated with an economy in tatters, little prospect of rapid recovery, and an impoverished, embittered population. After weeks of U.S. and Israeli strikes, many Iranians have lost their jobs, prices have surged, factories, power plants, railways, airports, and bridges have been destroyed, and the critical trading relationship with the Gulf states has been severed, maybe for decades. This is Reuters. This is not some big pro-MAGA outlet. Is there something about that you don't like? How come GB News gets it? GB News is a foreign outlet. They're pretty fair, however. The foreign media outlet. Here is a host on GB News just stating the fairly obvious. It said you've got to move media offshore for them to get a realistic assessment of where Donald Trump's headed. No, it's not 25th Amendment territory, you losers. It may be psychiatric, Baker Act time for you, talking about it, but not for the president. I promise he's in a really good spot. Here, check this out.
Before, a lot of people more wise than me have also said it. Take him seriously, but not literally when he says that a civilization will die tonight. He's talking as a deal maker, not a politician. Because when you're dealing with a religious theocracy that thinks nothing of slaying its own people, you have to speak in a language that they understand. He's putting a line in the sand for the Iranian regime because he is losing patience, and quite right too.
So, yeah, I think that the woke right has been taking a beating, and it's another reminder that Trump dominates the world. He dominates the world. And if you think he doesn't dominate the world, look at how he's dominated NATO. Look at how he's dominated NATO. Gunther Eagleman reporting, breaking, NATO has officially agreed to help in the securing of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran should never be allowed to continue charging tolls to ships passing through international waters. If NATO doesn't start stepping up in a major way, the Strait of Trump is coming quick. That'd be funny if they call it the Strait of Trump. Here's Mark Rutte.
It came time to provide the logistical and other support the United States needed in Iran. Some allies were a bit slow, to say the least. In fairness, they were also a bit surprised.
So what?
To maintain the element of surprise for the initial strikes, President Trump opted not to inform allies ahead of time. And I understand that.
So the White House now looking at possible...
All of a sudden, they're like, oh, look, he took it by surprise, but that was the right call. They weren't saying that before. They're so terrified. He's reportedly been saying, because in 2023, Congress passed a law which basically required Senate approval to pull out of NATO. So what's Trump's response? He's like, all right, maybe I can't pull out of NATO. Maybe the Supreme Court's going to stop me if I try pulling out of NATO. Maybe that's not going to work. But I am commander-in-chief, and I can basically pull assets from NATO and basically strip them of actually having any real protection. And this seems to have scared the bejesus out of NATO, and rightfully so. Because
I don't know if that actually is going to hold up, though, because that was attached to an NDAA. It wasn't like the original treaty, NATO treaty, was approved by all, by whatever 66 or whatever it was senators, was originally, and that gave Trump the president the authority to give him the 12-month notice, and then Congress would have to override that again with another 2/3 vote. That's what's in the original charter of NATO. And so they tried to throw that in 2023 to basically say, no, you can't do that now. If you want to get out, you got to get a permission from the Senate. It's the same thing. Like it's another, they're trying to change the rules. And I don't know how that's going to hold up.
No, and I agree. I agree with you that I don't know that 2023 statute is binding on Trump.
Right.
But
yeah,
I
so
think
it's going to, but who knows what the court would say?
Right. We don't know what a court would say with respect to that statute. So if you're Trump, you basically say, okay, I'm pulling out of NATO and we'll see if we can get out. And in the meantime, I'm depleting all the assets we're sending them, and I'm designating them to go somewhere else to defend our borders. And now all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're still in NATO. We're just, you just don't have any of our bombs or troops or anything like that. And okay, we're part of NATO. All right, that's fine. We're in NATO. It's just like, we're in NATO with the same military force as Lithuania. And okay, does that work for you? So, and the interesting thing is, all these America First people, if you're the woke right, you can't even be complaining about that. It's like, okay, so he's bringing our troops home. Like, what are you going to complain about now? And frankly, I think we should be out of NATO. I think we should be done with it. And NATO is terrified. NATO is terrified by this.
Punishments for some NATO allies, according to a piece in the Wall Street Journal.
Proposal involved moving U.S. troops out of NATO member countries deemed unhelpful in the Iran war effort and stationing them in countries that were more supportive. Frankly, I want to pull them out altogether. I don't want to just move to Bosnia. I want to move them. I want them moved to Kentucky.
They quote, the proposal would involve moving U.S. troops out of NATO member countries deemed unhelpful to the Iran war effort and stationing them in countries that were more supportive.
It came time to provide.
So, but there's more about him. Listen to him, Mark Rhodes. He's the head of NATO chief on CNN. It was like so he had a meeting with Trump, and apparently it didn't go as well as he was hoping. So he's now doing like this circuit of basically kissing Trump's butt, which is the way it should be. NATO should be kissing our president's butt, especially when it's President Trump.
Is the world safer today than it was before the war was started?
Absolutely, because, and this is thanks to President Trump's leadership, degrading these capabilities is really very important for your and my safety here in the US, in Europe, in the Middle East.
Kiss the ring. Kiss the ring. Here's Trump dangling the ring. Kiss the ring. Kiss it. Kiss the ring. Absolutely. And if you think that wasn't enough, this just made me laugh out loud. I was like, is this AI? I don't even know if this was AI. But I don't think it is. I think this is real.
He called you daddy earlier. Do you?
Well, on the daddy thing, this
He called Trump daddy. Did you see this, Jim?
I didn't see this. I just saw it looked like Rubio busting up laughing, so I don't know if it's real or not.
He called Trump daddy. He called Trump the head of NATO calling Trump daddy. Here's him trying to like talk his way out of it.
Language problem. What happened is the following. I have to explain to you because it follows me a little bit. I can assure you. Now, we had a sort of pre-summit meeting, the president and I, in June in The Hague. And he had been very angry that day with Iran and with Israel. This was in June last year. And in Dutch, you would say, hey, the translation of your father is daddy. And I said, hey, yeah, sometimes daddy has to be angry. So I was not calling him my daddy, but...
Not at all.
But of
Not
course,
at all.
Daddy has also a special connotation. And I now have to live with this the rest of my life. And I own it. And the president owns it because he brought out T-shirts. He made a
Daddy's
movie.
back.
Daddy is home. And he returned to the United States. This was so funny. And this is why I like him so much.
Yeah, I'm sure he loves him. I'm sure he really loves him. Oh my God. Anyway, so it does seem like it's real. Anyway, so now there is a ceasefire. Apparently the ceasefire does not include Lebanon. And some people in Iran are not happy about that. Israel is still bombing Lebanon. And as KT McFarland reports here, caught in a lie, for decades, Iran insisted proxies were independent forces, nothing to do with Iran. Now they're insisting Hezbollah is part of Iran's peace deal. You can't have it both ways. So here's JD Vance weighing in on that, he's been designated to oversee the ceasefire. And I see some people saying he should stay out of this. I actually think that it's politically a shrewd move for him to be involved in this because he is now he's the man of peace that the woke right is going to be calling for. They've all been circling around JD Vance because he seemed less than enthusiastic, in their opinion, with going to war. That's why when you heard them talking about 25th Amendment, they're like, we need JD Vance to save us. We need JD Vance to save us. My take on JD Vance is that he was being politically savvy. And I'm not saying this is a knock on him. I'm not saying it as a praise on him. I'm saying that I think everyone is reading into JD Vance's reaction to the Iran conflict as, what they want to read into it. I think some people who are supportive of our engagement there are concerned by his relative silence. You didn't hear him come out and bash the attack, which he wouldn't do because that's not politically savvy. He didn't come out very strongly in favor of it. He just sat back saying, basically, I'm the vice president. My opinion on this doesn't really matter. And now he's joining in the fray with respect to leading peace talks. It's interesting that he's joining with Jared Kushner, who is an interesting political touch point unto himself, because a lot of people from the woke right in particular have issues with Jared Kushner. I'll let you draw your own conclusions as to why. But Jared was very instrumental, obviously, in reaching the Abraham Accords during Trump's first term. So you can understand why he would be someone who's playing a role here. So it's basically Jared and JD Vance trying to finalize peace in Iran. And here is Vance speaking about the ceasefire.
I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. That said, the Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. That's not because that is part of the ceasefire. I think that's the Israelis trying to set us up for success, and we'll, of course, see how that unfolds in the next few days. But look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
So there you go. So it seems as if Iran, as if Israel, out of respect for trying to keep peace going, may withdraw from bludgeoning Hezbollah, but that's not what America's position is, that they're obligated under the terms of the ceasefire to do. And I think it seems as if J.D. Vance appreciates their willingness to dial it back in an effort to help promote peace. And I think if Trump tells them, hey, stop bombing them, they will. Because this is part of how everyone who, from the woke right, who thinks that Trump was Svengali'd by Bibi into doing this, I'll tell you right now, I genuinely believe that Bibi is Trump's puppet.
I posted a link in a private chat.
Yep.
Because I was wrong. It wasn't Qatar that gave Tucker the $25 million. It was an Iranian guy who gave Tucker $15 million in 2023. This is from Fortune magazine. Seed funded his media thing, and then he got $200,000 a month from Qatar to help train their prince or somebody. And there's FARA documents backing up the money he got from Qatar.
Tucker Carlson's online media company just raised $15 million in seed capital.
Some guy named Omid Malik.
Let's move this over here. Tucker Carlson's new media company has found a backer, Omid Malik, through his newly launched 1789 Capital boutique investment firm, has invested $15 million in seed capital into Last Country, the startup founded by Carlson and Neil Patel. According to Wall Street Journal, the venture will ultimately be subscription-driven, but it's currently building an audience with videos featuring Carlson streamed on Twitter, including a high-profile one with Trump that ran at the same time as the first Republican candidates debate. Malik, who also founded the bank Farvahar Partners, launched 1789 as an anti-woke equity firm. It is at present funded modestly with $150 million to invest, which could make it hard for the company to compete against larger venture capital firms. The investment in Carlson's media business is meant to help it show proof of concept, which would enable the company to then take on larger capital investments. It does not assign a valuation at present to the business, according to the Wall Street Journal. Carlson was abruptly pushed out of Fox News on April 24th. This is back in 2023. No official reason given, but in the weeks since the action, leaks revealed he had allegedly sent misogynistic and vulgar messages about his co-workers. I don't know if that's what happened. I don't know. On May 9th, weeks after his departure, Carlson announced plans to bring in a new version of the show to Twitter. In doing so, he reportedly gave up any severance payments he might have been owed by Fox. Puck's News' Dylan Byers on Twitter wrote at the time he will forego at least $25 million owed to him by Fox Corp. That's probably where you got that number, in order to break non-compete clause. So
it says he's has an Iranian mother and a Pakistani father.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. And Shanaka Anselm Pereira reported rumors circulating on pro-Hezbollah forums that Israel tracked the IP address. You talk about, like, we were talking about effective strikes. So I saw this and I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. And it shows you what Israel is capable of as far as an ally in this battle here. That Israel tracked the IP addresses of Hezbollah officials during a Zoom meeting, geolocated 100 positions simultaneously, and struck all of them in 10 minutes. The IDF has not confirmed the method. No mainstream outlet has verified it. The rumor originates from Tier 4 sources with zero corroboration from Israeli, American, or independent intelligence reporting, but the rumor is less important than what it reveals about the strike itself. 100 command targets across the three geographic zones: Beirut's southern suburbs, the Bekaa Valley, and southern Lebanon struck simultaneously in a 10-minute window. Intelligence headquarters, missile infrastructure, Radwan force assets, the area unit that operates Hezbollah's drone fleet. The IDF confirmed every detail. What the IDF did not confirm is how it knew where every target was at the exact same moment. That simultaneity is the signature. Hitting 100 targets in sequence is air superiority. Hitting 100 targets in 10 minutes is intelligence supremacy. It means real-time location data on the entire senior and mid-tier command structure updated continuously, cross-referenced with physical infrastructure, and fed into a strike package that executes before anyone can move. Whether the method was Zoom IP tracking, cellular metadata, SIGINT intercepts, human intelligence, or some combination of all four, the capability demonstrated is the same. Israel has penetrated Hezbollah's operational architecture to a depth that allows simultaneous decapitation across the entire theater of war. The Pager operation in September 2024 demonstrated that Israel could compromise Hezbollah's supply chain to deliver explosive devices into the pockets of hundreds of operatives. If the Zoom rumor contains any truth, it represents the evolution from hardware compromise to software compromise, from physical infiltration of devices to digital infiltration of communications, meaning that they're tracking, they know where you are. The pagers required months of supply chain engineering. An IP geolocation exploit requires only the target connects to a network. Hezbollah's response will be predictable. Abandon all digital communications, go dark, return to couriers and face-to-face meetings, but that response creates its own vulnerability. Couriers can be followed. Face-to-face meetings require physical movement that satellites and drones track. The more Hezbollah retreats from digital infrastructure, the slower its command cycle becomes, and the slower the command cycle, the less capable the organization is of coordinating the kind of distributed response that mosaic defense requires. This is the intelligence trap that the decapitation campaigns create. Every adaptation the target makes to survive reduces its operational effectiveness. There's a reason why they're online. The reason they're online is because it's quicker, it's more efficient. Go digital and risk geolocation. Go analog and risk paralysis. The IDF does not need to confirm the Zoom rumor for it to achieve its strategic purpose. It's true, they should never confirm it, because if you don't confirm it, you just sort of leave them wondering, and wondering how they're being infiltrated is half the battle. The rumor alone forces Hezbollah to assume its communications are compromised, which degrades command and control whether or not the compromise actually exists. The pagers change the supply chain. If the IP tracking is real, that's the software infiltration, it changes the meeting. If neither method was used and Israel has something else entirely, it changes the assumption that any form of communication is secure. In all three cases, the effect is identical. Hezbollah's command structure operates under the permanent assumption of penetration. And no one likes being permanently penetrated. Trust me, it's not fun. And an organization that assumes it's penetrated behaves like an organization that already is. Here's video of the strikes. You just see like across the region, like just targeted strikes. More than 10 minutes. It's gotta be terrifying.
I heard something that they have new technology where they can track people's heartbeats, where, you know, because they say that everyone's heartbeat is different. Everyone has a specific rhythm and a specific pattern, and it's almost like a specific signal. And so they can identify you by your heartbeat, and they can track it from space.
I think that's crap. I think you're making a joke.
No, I'm not. I'm being 100% serious. That's what when they were talking about how when they found that pilot, they said as long as his heart was beating, we could find him.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, because I don't believe everybody's finger. I don't know. I don't trust fingerprints. I don't trust DNA. I don't trust any of that stuff.
Wow. I don't know how that's possible, because I would think that your heartbeat rhythm is continually evolving and changing depending on the nature of the exercise you're engaging in.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know, man. I don't know. That's what I heard, man.
I don't understand how that's possible.
Someone saying it was because it was the only heartbeat of a human within a 10-mile area. Okay, maybe. I don't know.
Now, there's all sorts of questions about the ceasefires and the nature of what the 10-point plan is that they've agreed to during the terms of this ceasefire, which we still don't. I haven't been able to find online. I don't know if you've seen it. what the actual terms are. But apparently, over the last couple of days, there have been misreports, misinformation going on about what those 10 points are. Is broken down over here.
The Iranians are trying to put out disinformation already. And yesterday, we reported on a 10-point plan, and I'm told by a U.S. official that that was actually an old plan that the Iranians put out because they wanted people to talk about it and try to put their perspective forward. And so we are correcting that today, and we spoke with U.S. officials yesterday who said that is not the latest plan. There is an updated plan that the president agreed to, and despite these efforts by the Iranian regime to try to spin negotiators, this will be incredibly consequential this weekend to see whether or not they are serious about creating a good faith deal. The Iranians are trying to put out disinformation.
So I don't know that anyone knows what the actual 10-point plan is. It's a little weird. I would think that they would share that with us.
I know. And you got to remember, too, there was a pack of Stanleys that were in the middle of this negotiation. So who knows what happened?
Yeah. Now, the individual who they're dealing with from Iran, and there was all sorts of questions about,
Oh, the guy that was doing that did the thing with Obama, right? You're talking about the head negotiator for the JCPOA, and so people are speculating that maybe this guy's going to give up information about, did somebody take a payoff? Did money go somewhere? Or that $6 billion? That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I don't know. The guy who they say who at least AI was claiming to me is the one who's negotiating on behalf of Iran is Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf. You heard that name?
Oh, Ghalibaf. Yeah, I know him.
Ghalibaf. Do you really?
We play checkers.
Okay. So I think it's an interesting thing. I actually was asking like AI, and again, I'm sharing this with you with the caution that I routinely and properly will remind my audience that AI is pretty much the most intelligent retard you've ever met. So I don't know that I can trust this, but I got some links which are designed to share with us a little bit more about who Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf is. And
wait, is that the guy from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Kaliman, his heart got pulled out. Is that him?
I don't think so. No, I think that's a different guy.
Okay.
So anyway, I want to sort of take a look what the way AI describes him as basically that he is a member of the IRGC, but he's more pragmatic than Khomeini. He's sort of like a CEO who cares more about his own survival and ability to climb the ranks and stay in charge than he is someone who's hardcore fundamentalist the way Khomeini was. Because if we're just getting another Khomeini or someone who's actually more aggressive than Khomeini, in that case, that's the exact fear we all have about regime change in Iran. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
Doesn't whoever the new Supreme Burrito Supreme, whatever his name is, doesn't he have to be like a descendant of Muhammad, supposedly?
Oh, I don't know that. I never.
Isn't that what they claimed about Khomeini? Somehow he was like somehow, I don't know, somehow. I thought that, I don't know, maybe that's just what they claim. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked on chats in a while, so let me take care of that. I have a strong feeling that this is even more about choking out China's war machine. Everything Trump has done this year degrades China's ability to fight. I think the war in Iran was more about China. There's a lot of argument for that. What Lord Castellan is bringing up here is actually a fair point because China is very dependent on Iran for oil. So if he's able to help control the distribution of oil from Iran and create a stranglehold for China, it certainly is something that could play a significant role in the ability to control Xi and China's military offensive. It's almost like you're almost starving their military of oil and potentially.
There is kind of a historical analog to this.
Which is?
Well, in 1930s, we put an embargo on Japan and stopped their oil, and just saying, it's history rhymes. It doesn't always repeat.
So you're saying that we're going to have another Pearl Harbor because
we could? I'm just saying I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, we could be having them all the time. COVID could have been our Pearl Harbor. We could be having Pearl Harbors every time they try to hack our systems and do our stuff. And I'm just saying, like it's GMB,
who's been here for 2 years, I'm giving the hard horn for that. Tucker is nuts, but there is zero evidence of Qatar giving Tucker $25 million. That claim is retarded. Sounds like some Laura Loomer BS. Like I said, I don't know. And what we basically found is that it wasn't Qatar. It was some Iranian who gave him $15 million, and you claim $200,000 a month, which $200,000 a month is someone who has the wealth that Tucker Carlson has, because supposedly he has his own independent wealth irrespective of his job.
Well, his stepmother was from the Swanson family, Swanson TV dinners.
Right. So it doesn't seem like someone. Right. It doesn't sound like someone who's hard up for cash. That to you or me, $200,000 a month is an insane amount of money. But you're talking about $2.5 million a year to Tucker Carlson. That doesn't sound like mind-altering money that he's going to radically change his position over that. Being realistic. So, he was owed $25 million from Fox. You think he's going to be swayed by $2.5 million a year? I don't think so. Yes, that law is unconstitutional, is referring to the statute from 2023. Trump was SCOTUS. I need to sort of look at it more. I don't know enough about it to weigh in as an attorney on it. Nobody agreed to any plan. Apparently, Iran was 10 points and the U.S. had 15.1, and both said we can talk, but we only hear about the 10. I think it's the point to that clip I shared with you is it's not the 10 that was floated out there on social media a couple of days before Tuesday, in the beginning part of the week, that was crap. But let's get a little look into this guy, Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf.
Kalima.
Weeks after ordering strikes on Iran, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a sudden pause in military action, signaling a possible shift in strategy, at least temporarily. On Monday, Trump declared a 5-day halt on U.S. strikes targeting Iranian power plants.
This is a couple of weeks ago.
Infrastructure. The decision, he said, came after what he described as good and productive diplomatic discussions between Washington and Tehran over the past 48 hours. But the response from Iran was swift and sharply contradictory. Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf, Iran's parliament speaker and a key figure in the country's leadership, dismissed the claim outright. No negotiations have been held with the U.S., he said,
again, this is
pushing back against Trump's assertion. Ghalibaf also rejected reports in Israeli media suggesting he had been in talks with U.S. officials, including Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff. As conflicting narratives emerge, attention is increasingly turning to Ghalibaf himself, widely seen as one of the most influential figures shaping Iran's war posture. So, who exactly is he? Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf currently serves as Iran's parliament speaker and is a veteran of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC). Born in 1961, Ghalibaf joined the IRGC in 1980 and rose through its ranks during the Iran-Iraq War, eventually becoming one of its commanders, according to a BBC report. Over the decades, he has built a career that bridges both military and civilian leadership. His roles have included commander of the Revolutionary Guard's Aerospace Corps, Tehran police chief, mayor of Tehran, and now Speaker of Parliament.
And to be clear, there were reports that he was extremely brutal. Like he can be like a monster, this guy. So let's not think that he's like some peace-loving guy. He can be monstrous in his own way.
As noted in reports by Barron's. Ghalibaf has also made multiple attempts to become Iran's president. He ran in 2005, 2013, and 2024, finishing 4th, 2nd, and 3rd respectively. He also withdrew from the 2017 race ahead of voting. Following his first presidential defeat in 2005, he became mayor of Tehran, a position he held for 12 years. During this time, he earned praise for a technocratic approach focused on urban management, but also faced allegations of financial corruption.
Now, if you're Trump, you actually are happy about the financial corruption because this implies that he has a Western vice.
You've seen the videos, right, where they were showing certain people, like I don't know if it's his family, other people's, like with their daughter's wedding, and they weren't all covered up, and it was all like it seemed like very Western. I don't know if it was him. There was some leaders, people that were showing, and then like there's all these relatives of their people that we're finding out are here in the U.S. that somehow got visas to come here. Like Soleimani's nieces and nephews, and there's other people's daughters and sons and stuff. There's a son of someone like.
I have a friend who basically speculated, and there's some truth to this. I think that he's like, if you want to know which Muslim you can trust is not going to be fanatical, see if they wear a tie. Anyone who wears a tie is sufficiently westernized that there's someone you can deal with on Western type of terms that are not going to be fundamentalist. Someone who wears a tie isn't looking to blow up the world, because they wouldn't cater to wearing Western clothing to that degree. If they're wearing Western clothing, it shows that they're not the hardcore fanatics like an Ahmadinejad or a Khomeini. So that's why I'm looking to see if we ever see him in a tie or not. But the fact that what I was saying at the beginning of the show is I was talking about how, when you're dealing with a fundamentalist, and one of the reasons that Trump has been so hardcore and hardline against Iran is because there's so much fundamentalist perspective, which is something he cannot work with. But if someone who's corruptible, someone who engages in financial corruption, that displays a mindset where it's like, it's not about Allah. It's not about, getting his 72 virgins. It's about, he wants his own fame, strength, and political power and wealth. And so someone who's corruptible, and is someone who Trump probably feels like he can work with, because, there's a carrot you can give this guy as opposed to someone who's dedicated towards Islamifying the entire world, because this guy cares about money more than he cares about Allah. Right? I mean, that's what I think is, if you're Trump and you hear this guy has a reputation for being corrupt, that probably motivates you to think that maybe this is an individual I can work with. I mean, it sounds like something you don't want to work with in a normal context, but in this context, I can understand why there's a logic behind that perspective.
Galabaf's record has not been without controversy. He has reportedly been accused of playing a key role in suppressing protests during major movements,
brutal,
including the 1999 student protests, the 2009 Green Movement, and nationwide protests that peaked in January 2026. During his tenure as mayor, critics also accused him of leveraging his past role in the IRGC to conceal corruption scandals. At times, his rhetoric has been equally forceful. According to the New York Post, Galabaf led lawmakers in chants of death to America and death to Israel. Now 64, Galabaf is also a qualified pilot and has served as Parliament Speaker since 2020. Despite his hardline image, he has at times advocated economic reforms and stronger parliamentary oversight, while remaining closely aligned with Iran's core power structures. Recent reports suggest he may also be more central.
And I think that it could be a difference between Sunni and Shia as to whether the bloodline is significant. Karen is agreeing that with you that the Ayatollah's son, he's a new one, but he's in bad shape. They haven't seen him in weeks. Yeah, we've all seen reports about this purportedly allegedly gay.
I'm sure there's probably a bunch of relatives of the prophet. He had like 20 wives, right? Like they were all like 12 years old. Right, 7, right? What was one 7?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't know.
Aisha, something like that. Yeah, married her when she was 7. But he didn't consummate it until she was 11.
You're trying to get a fatwa on my channel? Is that what you're trying to do?
They can give a fatwa on me. I don't give a fat fatwa.
Diplomatic maneuvering than publicly acknowledged. According to the Jerusalem Post, the top person referenced by Trump as being in contact with the U.S. could be Galabaf. Meanwhile, Axios reported, citing an Israeli official, that he has been in touch with Witkoff and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and envoy. The situation highlights a familiar pattern in high-stakes geopolitics: public denials alongside possible private engagement. While Trump speaks of productive talks and pauses military action, Tehran's official stance remains firm: no negotiations. At the center of this contradiction stands Galabaf, a figure whose military past, political ambitions and current authority place him at the heart of both Iran's war strategy and its potential path to diplomacy.
Again, this is a couple of weeks ago because apparently there are meetings scheduled to happen in Islamabad over the weekend.
Saturday.
So, yeah. So this is, I just wanted to get a little breakdown as to who he is. And here is, this is more recent, breaking down the talks and what we know and what we don't know. I will say this, where are we at on our goal? How many we have so far? 9 out of 15. Only 3 minutes left. I don't know.
Yeah, but didn't you get, you got that 150. Doesn't that count for something? No?
I usually give a couple extra for that.
Yeah, give them at least 2.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's fair. CGI and green screen has made the use of set design and makeup and background extras obsolete. Justin Bateman said movies are now made in 3 rooms with a skeleton staff. Will real films ever return? I don't know, Eileen. I don't know. I think maybe. But if AI continues improving at a certain point, you have to ask whether. I think it's a fair question. It's a fair question to ask.
It's temporary, and it's built on 2 separate proposals. One, well, a ceasefire has been agreed, but the truce is fragile. It's temporary, and it's built on 2 separate proposals, one from the US and one from Iran. Understanding these demands is key to understanding what this ceasefire truly means. Well, here's what each side wants and what the terms actually say. Well, beginning with the US, Washington insists that Iran made several commitments in exchange for the pause in strikes. US officials say they're working on a 15-point proposal that it believes Iran has accepted in principle. However, not all of it is public. They have outlined the core demands, beginning with reopening the energy-important Strait of Hormuz. Trump says the ceasefire hinged on Iran reopening the waterway. A fifth of global oil and gas passes through it. The US views unrestricted movement here as non-negotiable. Secondly, no nuclear weapons. The US wants Iran to commit to never developing nuclear weapons. Trump has emphasized that Iran's uranium will be perfectly taken care of under any deal. Thirdly, hand over highly enriched uranium. Washington wants Iran's existing stockpile transferred out of the country. And fourth, limits on Iran's defense and missile program. The US wants constraints on Iran's military capabilities, especially systems that threaten US bases, Israel, or shipping lanes. Fifth, end support for regional proxy groups, including Hezbollah, militias in Syria and Iraq, plus other aligned armed groups. And last but not least, acknowledgement of Israel's right to exist. Regional sources say this is one of the points included in the US demands. And finally, reinstate full access for international inspectors, although not fully detailed. The US plan includes monitoring and verification requirements.
The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along.
That don't sound like Trump.
Agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran.
I need to work very hard on. I could do better than that. The reason for doing so is that we already met and exceeded all military objectives. Very far along. With a
I think they backed themselves
agreement.
into a corner by saying that they need to stop saying that we already achieved all our military objectives, because that means that if they strike anything else, it wasn't a military objective. It's my opinion.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. It basically means you should be dialing it back, right?
Yeah.
And peace in the Middle East.
However, Iran sees a ceasefire very differently. Tehran says it has submitted a 10-point proposal of itself through Pakistan, and that the US accepted its general framework.
It is emphasized that this does not signify the end of the war, and Iran will accept the end of the war only when considering the principles from Iran in the 10-point plan are accepted, and its details are also finalized in the negotiations.
So what are Iran's terms? Beginning with a total lifting of all sanctions, Iran wants both primary and secondary sanctions removed, including banking and energy restrictions. Second, release of frozen Iranian assets. Billions of dollars held abroad must be unfrozen and returned. Thirdly, permanent Iranian management of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran wants
there's
to
no way in
retain
hell they're going to
authority
get that
over the strait. It says it will allow safe passage during the
that's not going to be acceptable.
Ceasefire, but under Iranian military supervision. Fourth, transit fees for ships. Iran and Oman may charge up to $2 million per vessel during the truce. Iran says the money will go towards reconstruction, then end all US and Israeli attacks. Iran is demanding that all strikes on its territory and on its regional allies stop immediately. Sixth, US military withdrawal from West Asia. Tehran wants American forces out of the region in phases. Last but not least, recognition of Iran's right to nuclear enrichment. This appeared in the Farsi version of the plan, but not in English version.
There's no way that's going to happen. There's no way. How old is this thing? This is 1 day ago. Again, but then, like, I don't know that this is actually, I think that this is arguably, it's possible. You want to look at it glass half full. It's possible that this is what they're saying publicly in order to try and create this as the nature of the conversation. And because they're afraid of what will happen if they look like they cratered and gave in to Trump's demands. So it's very difficult to know which side is more motivated to lie to us. I want to be realistic here with you, okay? Because definitely you're an idiot if you trust terrorist perspective as, terrorist claims to the world, because they're going to lie for a myriad of reasons. And frankly, the government, Trump, is motivated to send out messages that are going to encourage Americans into thinking that we're almost done there and that peace is around the corner and that we're meeting all our objectives. So if you want to be cynical, you can fairly be cynical here as to and I think the cynical perspective is we have no idea what the nature of this ceasefire, what the terms agreed to on the ceasefire are. We just don't. And all that we can basically do is sit and hope that it's a lot closer to what America is presenting as the terms of the ceasefire than what Iran is telling the world. Some of what Iran is telling the world seems almost impossible to believe that Trump would ever go along with it. And when you have some terms in there, like, oh yeah, the recognition of their right to enrich uranium and to have a nuclear program, that is something that I cannot imagine in a million years Trump going along with any more than, charging ships.
Why would you go along with that? Why would you have done any of this if you're going to allow them to do what you're saying you're going to do this to stop them from doing? It makes no sense.
Which is a reason to say that the entire list of proposals that Iran is putting out is hogwash, because some of them are hogwash. So why would you trust any of them? So, and they have every motivation to claim that was the terms of the ceasefire in order to bolster themselves politically in their own Iranian framework. That it's like, no, we didn't give it at all. They're giving it to us. So they might be lying about that now. And that the only way we're going to know is when we see the final terms of the peace deal and what comes out there. So for now, we have to accept the fact that we're sort of in the dark, but there are reasons to trust the American perspective on things, the American presentation of facts more than the Iranian presentation of facts, because we know there's definitely some BS baked into the Iranian perspective. But I'm simply cautioning that there are reasons to think that we're going to get a pie in the sky perspective, or let's put it like this, a hyperbolic, glass half full perspective, because Trump likes looking at things that had glass half full. I mean, he did that with COVID, where he's like, oh, there's not going to be that big a deal, so it's difficult to know where exactly these terms are, and we sort of have to accept the fact that we're in the dark, and we're going to be in the dark. And if you want to tell me that you're trusting Trump on this, I think you have good reason to sit in that camp. If you tell me that you think that Trump is exaggerating, I think that there's logic to accept that perspective too. But I would think that it's definitely a lot more along the lines of what America is presenting than what Iran is presenting, because if it was everything that Iran is presenting, I think that he would have just started bombing some of their nuclear plants. I think that's what would have happened. So if they weren't caving at all, I do think he would have done some targeted strikes. That's my take on it. Yeah, so I'll finish the rest of this report. I think I'm going to end up covering Melania. This is what ended up happening while we're doing this, just so we're all on the same page. This is what Brian Oldenkamp came out with, dropping 20 new members of 20 new followers, following 20 people brought into the following, courtesy of Brian Oldenkamp, who definitely seems to be making a push. And I think it's fair to say that based on the 20 new members he brought in, I'm just going to call it goal. God bless you, Brian. Thank you so much. I'm going to stream tomorrow. That's what we're going to do. I think I am going to incorporate the Melania portion that I was planning on covering tonight. I think it will at least be part of my show tomorrow, just because I'm feeling like surprisingly tired right now, and I want to be able to present it in a way that's strong. That's strong. But I'm going to finish out this coverage about the ceasefire deal and break down for you first who he brought into the following. When you hear your name, please make sure you express your gratitude. Brian Oldenkamp bring you into the greatest assembly of like-minded individuals seeking greater personal growth through community unity, learning, and thinking. And that would include you. Seize the Day, Cornish Len, Ace of Spades, Virtual Loner, Angela Ellis, Sheila Marie 2, Unpencoed, Shannon Scopper. It's definitely one of those. Blue Eyes 85, Ang Torres 2665, Corporal Jade, Walter Mazuski, Tim 1, Z6B. The cat limit does not exist. Welcome to the following. Cat limit does not exist. I guess it doesn't. Mr. Flare Zero. That's definitely close to right. Steven Stacker, J Rob 13, Brandon Lesko. Oh, remember Brandon? Let's go, Brandon. There you go. Haven't seen that guy in a minute. I kind of miss him. Gulia Kreitz and Diane Beckel. Welcome to the Good Lawgic membership. God bless you. Welcome to the following indeed. So, but I will be streaming based on this. I'm gonna qualify this and say that we hit our goal. So I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow afternoon, probably in the early afternoon. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna end up on. I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up on. I haven't been looking at whether layback law is going to be on tomorrow, what's going to happen with that. But I plan on doing my own live stream here. And during that, I will be covering, and part of it will be about Melania, but I'll have other topics also as well.
Circulated by Iranian diplomats. Still, Iran's Security Council says the US agreed in principle to this point. And finally, a UN Security Council resolution to lock in the deal. Iran wants a binding internationally enforceable guarantee before any long-term peace is signed.
Our hands remain upon the trigger, and should the slightest error be committed by the enemy, it shall be met with full force.
Oh, yeah, here we're coming. They're going to be dropping the full force.
Well, despite clashing narratives, a few points are mutually acknowledged. A 2-week halt to US, Israeli, and Iranian operations, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz under temporary Iranian oversight, and in-person negotiations expected, likely in Islamabad. These are the only fully confirmed shared elements. The 2-week truce rests on a paradox. Each side believes that the other conceded. The US says it secured victory by forcing Iran to reopen the strait. Iran claims it won by forcing the US to accept its 10-point plan. But in truth, both sides accepted only the minimum needed to avoid an immediate continuation of the war. Well, this ceasefire is not peace, it's a pause that's packed with contradictions. What comes after may reshape West Asia. The only certainty is that the terms of this truce are fragile, the peace they promise even more so. The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your new...
I don't know who this dude is. I have no idea who this guy is. First post, I got 9.5 million subs. 9.5 million subs and 10,000 views. That's hard to do. 9.5 million subs. And how is that possible? 9.5 million subs. Look at this.
It's probably all bots.
Yeah, it's this 9.5 million subscribers and 10,000 views. 47 likes. This is the weirdest thing in the world. This is so weird.
I had a question. Why do you think Trump made the statements that he made about the civil? I mean, those statements he made about the civilization and doing
Wiping out civilization?
Yeah, though that's nobody in Iran saw that. Most likely,
That's not true.
Well,
that's not true. Why
they
would
don't
you
have
think
the
that?
internet. I thought.
No, it's not the Iran. They only want the Iran leadership to see it. They have access.
I thought that was more for like maybe
at home,
Western,
domestically,
domestic other people, just to kind of.
No, I think he figures that they definitely have access. I think that it's not to invigorate the Iranian people. It's more to it's to send a message to the Iranian leadership that we're coming unless you. And clearly, a message got through, right? I mean, there's something was agreed to. They're meeting in Islamabad. That wasn't happening before, so something's happening. So I think that his message did sort of get through. I do want to get to. I think I'm going to do Melania tomorrow. I think that's the way to do this. Yeah, I'm going to definitely do
the Melania stuff is very interesting.
It is, and I'm going to cover it tomorrow. I also have stuff about new developments, about new findings that Kash Patel dropped with respect to J6. My show is probably going to be somewhere around 2 p.m. Eastern time is when I plan on streaming tomorrow, and I'll go for an hour or two at least. So I'm going to be covering Melania. I'll be covering this FBI fine from Kash Patel and Canada's craziness and whatever else comes out over the next 12 hours or so. Until then, I thank you all for joining me. Please make sure you sub up to Jim Tells You. Sub up if you're here, if you're not yet subbed up. And, drop a like, a share, a subscribe, all that other good stuff. Do the algorithm stuff. You could drop a comment. I'll love you. I will love you. I thank you all for joining me. I'm going to tell people where they can find you, Jim.
You can find me on all major platforms at Jim Tells You, except for X. Well, I am on X at Jim Tells You, but it's kind of like a holding account. I'm waiting to try and get him to change my account on X is at Jim Satala, but everywhere else is Jim Tells You.
All right, cool. Make sure you do that. And also make sure that you remember the lab meet was never meant for you. It was meant for they, them. Definitely not. It's meant for the MMWIGTQQQI plus XC23 binary, whatever. They, them. It's not meant for you. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, I thank you for joining me. Godspeed. Oh, wait, did I check over in locals? We're good in locals. Okay. Bye.